G'day friends, just a little informal chat with Goran Hemstrom. G'day mate.
Hey.
Thank
you.
Benny.
Welcome.
Thanks for your time.
Welcome to my home.
So, how long have you been in, we'll just get straight into it. We'll try and get it. So
Nothing like being straight.
How long have you been in Jeunesse for?
I'm coming up to I'm just over my 11th month in the business now. So
wow.
In September we joined. Actually September 1. So 1 year anniversary coming up.
Awesome. So can I ask, because a lot of people would know your story, that you've been in networking, obviously when you present, you're very great at the story and relating. What made you decide to come to Jeunesse?
Look, Ben, great question. Lots of factors. Obviously, whenever someone makes a decision to do something different, there's got to be a change going on in their life, or they've been awoken. And I was certainly awoken. In fact, I've got a great friend, Darren Adams and Kate Adams in Tasmania, who for probably about 6 or 7 months had been drip feeding me with information about this company. And probably even 12 months before that, someone that we'd all be familiar with, Craig Schultz, our upline diamond, actually made contact with myself and one of my business partners, the legendary Mike Allen. And so we had an understanding about what Jeunesse was about, but because I was involved in another company and had actually been part of the launch group of that company, it's always a big decision to change. But there's an old saying, Ben, if you can't beat them, you join them. Yeah. So that's kind of what we did. And I just really did a cost-benefit analysis at the time, probably back in August last year, late August, and realised that if I didn't make the move, I was probably going to miss one of the most important times, one of the most critical periods for growth in network marketing history over the next few years. So, I had to make the move.
That's awesome. So tell me when you had this conversation with your wife, what happened? Tell me what happened.
Well, it was kind of funny actually, because Darren and Kate suggested we try the products, and because we've been involved in the industry for a fair while, we're a massive fan of the industry. In fact, use products from a few different companies, and we were actually using another, one of, I suppose, I said the name there, New Skin, one of Jeunesse's competitors, New Skin, using their products, and love them, been using them for about 5 years. And we were running out, and I said to Darren, hey Darren, look, I'll tell you what, I'll help you out, I'll try your products. Okay, so, and I was actually heading up to Queensland to do a series of meetings with my other business, and the products arrived, and I think it was 2 or 3 days in, and my wife called me and she said, these are the best skincare products that she's ever used. Now, she started her working career as a beauty therapist, so she kind of knows what she's talking about. And
your ears must have went well.
Yeah, well, exactly. That kind of really helped. That was a glowing endorsement. That was only after 3 days of use, and really there was no convincing required. My wife and I have always had this relationship. She's become very successful in her own career, but back when we first got together and we were involved in network marketing in our first journey in this industry, we worked the business together. We've always done that. So, if I feel that something is of real value and we can do something with it, then we'll always go for it together.
Awesome. So tell me, can I ask, what were those products that you first got?
Oh, well, actually the Luminous range.
Right.
Well, it was the Luminous range and of course Reserve. And so they arrived, I was in Queensland, I came back, I started using them myself, noticed the feel of the Luminous products, loved the taste of Reserve. Because I've been a fan of nutritional products for a long time, I have to admit initially I didn't really notice anything because I've been on pretty good nutritional products for a fair while. But within a couple of weeks, certain things were happening because I ended up getting the AM/PM and Affinity, and threw myself into all of the products, and my sleep was improving. My back pain that I normally had was disappearing. I go to the I've kept my chiropractor in business for about 15 years since my footy career, and it was kind of funny because even my chiropractor noticed very quickly that I was a lot more supple. I didn't have the same intensity of pain in certain areas in my back. So I have no idea which product was helping because I was on everything, and I'd highly recommend that you give that a shot. And I was one. I was won over. It was pretty simple.
Fantastic. So, what advice do you give to new people? Because there's someone who might be watching this and might be saying, "No, I don't know what a Plan B business," or why do you think the timing's so good for our business right now?
Well, you just have to look at the results. I mean, they speak for themselves. But when you're speaking to someone new, especially new to the industry, you've got to understand that their thinking is probably a little bit different to the thinking that you have right now if you're a distributor. So we've got to understand that people go through a process. But really one of the first things we've got to become connected to is the reason that we join. And I think sometimes, there's an old saying that if your fear or the problem that you have in your life is this big and your dream is this big, the fear of the problem is going to conquer. Okay, so we have to turn our dreams into the big ball, if you like. And, so if our dream is like the beach ball and our fear is like the tennis ball, we're going to roll over that very easily. But at the same time, if we're constantly focusing on what we want, we've got to understand that not every day will work out the way we want. And I quite often tell people quite up front, if you can take a no, if you can understand that up until the age of 18, if you're like the average person, Ben, and I know you're not, but the average person apparently, according to Goran Hemstrom, the author of What You Say When You Talk to Yourself, says that you've had 48,000 no's by the time you're 18.
Wow. So
we've kind of been conditioned for that. And, in my case, that was no different. So if you can embrace a no and go on. And a good buddy of mine, he was very successful in the industry years ago, he used to say that the definition of success is being able to go from one failure to another without any loss in enthusiasm. So if you're prepared to just embrace the fact that, hey, not everybody will see it your way, you are in a sifting and sorting business. You're not in a convincing business. Because if you're anything like me when I first got in the industry...
Isn't that brilliant? Sifting and sorting.
Yeah, well, that's what it's
brilliant.
about.
Brilliant.
That's what it's about. Most people think we have to convince. See, nobody wants to sell. We certainly don't want to sell to our friends. But what's selling in the eyes of most people? It's basically convincing someone to do something that they weren't really thinking of. Yes, most people we call are not thinking of, hey, I need a business, right? They're not. Okay, that's probably the last thing they're thinking about. However, through the way that we behave, the way that we approach people and conduct ourselves, hopefully we open them, we condition them in some way to at least look. And if they are open to at least doing that, then you can start to use the tools to move them through the process to make a decision. But I think the key understanding here is that you, as someone brand new in the business, you don't need any particular person. There are 6 billion people out there. I heard the statistics last week at our conference that I think it was Todd Falcone said that there's 560,000 or 590,000 people in this industry here in Australia. Now, is that right? Something like that? Yeah, and there's 24 million people. Now, if we take the kids out of the equation, I don't know, what's that like, 14, 15 million?
Yeah, it's a big market.
Massive market. Massive market. Most people don't understand the industry, but most people are looking. So if we're prepared to sift and sort, don't get attached to the decision that people make. Understand you're moving people through a process, you're collecting decisions, you're going to succeed. But my biggest piece of advice really for anyone that's new at this, and I know you're not taking notes not right now, but if you were, you'd want to write this down, and that is to find a mentor, someone that you can relate to, someone that you respect, listen to their advice and then actually act on their advice. So that's number one. The second thing is every single day do 2 things. Number one, do something that productively moves your business forward. Because we actually only get paid for 2 things in this business. The first thing, Ben, as you know, is helping new people get started in the business. So finding, new people, recruiting. The second thing is actually selling product. If that's what if someone wants to buy the product from you, we can do that. They're the only 2 things you get paid for. So everything else that we do, having this chat, it doesn't actually build our business. No. Okay? So every day, engage in activity where you're doing something in that along those lines, okay? And talk to your coach or mentor about, exactly for how long you're going to do that. The second thing is do something every day that's going to grow you up here. Grow your attitude, grow your belief, grow your vision. I'd recommend, we've just been chatting before about the tapes and books, the CD, or the tapes and the CDs, audios that we've listened to. It's so easy these days to find good stuff. I mean, YouTube is littered with positive information, rich in mental nutrition, if you like. But that's one thing. The other thing is reading. If you can find 15 to 20 minutes a day, it might only be one chapter, and then my one little tip is whatever you read, endeavour to act on that today. Yeah? You agree with that?
Definitely.
So if you do those two things, something productive, either talking to a prospect or a few prospects, moving product, as an outcome of that, and also learning and genuinely reading, listening, focused on having quality conversations with people that are in your upline that are moving forward, you're going to succeed in this business because you're going to develop the right mindset and the right behaviours that will make it work.
There you have it, friends. There's a little snapshot. It's you can see why he's successful because of that mindset. It's just, can you see that? And you feel it's just that good thinking, and obviously you're an avid reader and listening, so that's great.
A book from the library.
Yeah. Well, thanks, mate. What we'll do is we'll do some more as we go on, some leadership and stuff. But thanks for a bit of an introduction into your life, mate.
Awesome, Ben. Thanks for coming over.
Thanks for the nice cup of tea.
All right. See you guys.